All right. Well, welcome to another edition of Playfly Playmakers. And Zach, thank you for joining me this morning. We're going to have a fun, quick round with a bunch of interesting questions, hopefully, for all that you have going on in your world on multiple levels. But I'm so happy that you were able to make it. For those that are unaware, I don't know how you could be, but Zach is president of media and new enterprises at Monumental Sports and Entertainment. So thank you, Zach, for joining.
Thank you, Craig. It's always good to see you, and I appreciate the opportunity to do this with you.
Yeah, happy to get into it with you. Why don't we just even right off the bat, got a quick question for you because I love your title. New enterprises. Why don't we go sort of down a path of what that and how that's defined inside your organization?
Sure. Well, I talk about this often. I think that our sports organizations have become much more than just individual sports teams. And I think that certainly we are on trend as an organization with multiple groups out there wanting to consolidate multiple teams with multiple venues. In our case, we have a network and other venture investment opportunities. We think about our organization as operating as a platform. We pride ourselves on being a fully integrated organization. We don't operate any of our individual teams in a silo. We have one central leadership team. We have one shared services group that helps us create economies of scale across expenses, one HR team, one finance team, one accounting team. We also have revenue upside potential there. We have one consolidated sales group, which obviously works with your team,
Yeah,
Craig, and the Playfly team and whatnot. We're able to bundle and create these bespoke packages across all of our assets. The vertical integration that we have really provides great scale and magnitude, I think, for our partners. We also have one combined database, and so that really augments, the power and the reach that all of our team brands, our venues, and our network have. And so, we're on a steady course and speed to eclipse $1 billion in revenue as an organization, and we want to continue to accelerate that growth. As we think about how we want to grow our company in the future, we can continue to grow organically through our steady run rate. We can acquire new businesses that we can fully integrate into our platform, the same way we did with our network, formerly NBC Sports Washington, now Monumental
yeah.
Sports Network. And we can make investments or launch new venture opportunities that can find strategic value in our platform. I think about some of the investments and efforts that we've made in esports, in sports betting, in digital and streaming. Recent venture investments that we've made in companies like Darren Ravel's Collect,
Mhm,
Howard
mhm.
Megdal's media company called The Nine, which is focused on women's professional sports and whatnot. And those are small venture investments, but hopefully one day they can grow to be big and be, high growth, high multiple valued companies that one day we might say we want to fully acquire and integrate into our platform or spin out and do something even bigger with. And so we think about new enterprises as ways to use our platform in sports to create value, to grow companies, to give companies that we work with a strategic edge, a strategic advantage. All of our corporate development efforts, equity financings, a lot of our debt financings, some of the work we did with our city. We're going to be eclipsing $3 billion in transactions in the not too distant future, I think, all flowing through sort of the Monumental platform. So there's a lot of activity here that kind of spans the gamut in terms of the scale from angel, venture, growth, all the way to private equity size level investment opportunities.
I thought my job was exhausting. I'm exhausted just hearing that audience as well. Well, in all seriousness, so there's another side of you as a friend that I like people to get exposed to. You're also a big family guy, and I'm just curious, right off the bat, maybe backing out before we get back into the professional side, how you're managing all of that and still having young kids at home and trying to be the dad and managing work
Yeah,
and,
I
and,
drink a
and
lot of coffee. That's how I
yeah,
manage it. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, two little girls. My 4-year-old will start at preschool. My 2-year-old will start next year. I have a amazing and loving wife who, watches our kids, takes care of them, makes it so I don't have to worry about that during the day when I'm here in the office. And it's hard work. It's nonstop for any parents out there who also have demanding day jobs. There's no rest when you come home, and the weekends aren't as restful as maybe they used to be
Yeah.
pre-kids. But it's all worthwhile. And what's really amazing for me, apart from the time that I spend with my children, is every now and then when our worlds sort of blend together here and we have a matinee game, a 12 noon game, a 3 p.m. game, and I'm bringing my daughters to the games and whatnot, and I'm seeing how enthralled they are with the actual games themselves. My 4-year-old is the biggest Alex Ovechkin fan on the planet, and it reminds me of the connection that I have with my own father and some of those sports memories that you develop in your childhood with your parents, with your friends. Those are core memories, and I think that cuts to exactly why I love working in the business of sports.
Yeah.
It's unlike any other business in the world. We are in the business of making memories between families and friends, and now to be able to do that with my own family is incredibly fulfilling and rewarding. Very
Yeah,
cool.
and look, that collision is only going to get better. Having kids that are older, I can attest. When you can get those moments to have them be in a shared experience, it's just going to get even better as they start to realize. But do you think they understand what Daddy does, or do you think they're just taking
No,
in?
I think they have no idea what Daddy does.
Yeah,
Or yeah. So at some point, I'm sure they'll gather, and just want to make sure that they have great perspective as they grow up, as I think my parents shared with me, and how fortunate we are to be in this business, and how grateful you have to be every day. We're in a business of happiness, and we cherish that.
speaking of happiness, the Ovechkin celebration for the 900th goal. Well, first off, the original celebration, breaking the all-time goal record, and how special that was, and then to have the secondary goal that seemed like an impossibility for somebody to reach 900 goals just seemed so inconceivable. Maybe I don't know whether you've got a thought on that, but I don't know how that's going to be broken. It sort of now comes into one of those moments of where like a Ty Cobb and some of the stats that he put up back up 100 years ago in baseball. But like, how could someone actually conceive of breaking 900 goals? Any
Yeah,
thoughts?
it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
And Alex has been with us his whole career. And so we've known Alex since he was literally a teenager. And
yeah,
now he's 40 and he's a family man himself. And he feels fulfilled with his career, having won a championship, now being the NHL's all-time goal leader, one of the greatest accomplishments in sports history. Last night after the game, I went down, I gave him a hug, and the first thing I said to him was, every night is history now,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I will tell you that myself, my family, our organization, we do not take a minute of this for granted. This is the greatest thing that could happen in probably Washington sports history,
yeah.
and it won't last forever.
Right.
Father Time is undefeated, and so every game, people really have to soak up and enjoy it. And I think Alex is, and we want this to keep going and keep going and keep going.
Yeah,
So we'll have to see what happens, but the team is also focused on winning. Last night was a really good win. We had lost a couple of games, so it was good to get back in the win column. We've got big aspirations for the team, and Alex is, clearly deeply entrenched in that too. So, Alex breaking the all-time goals record last year was clearly historic, and it really was meaningful for us to have it all be done with one organization. I think across the major
yeah.
four leagues, it's so rare that you see one player spend his whole career with one team anymore, and it's something that it's a legacy that will live on forever here in Washington with Alex, and yeah, incredibly meaningful, important to us.
Yeah, you make a great point though too. That I thought the chase was fun, right? The countdown for the last 3 years, basically knowing, other than injury, he was going to break it. It's just when. But now every night he's sort of resetting the next level of somebody that what they're going to have to chase. So,
Well,
um,
he's also proven to be an incredibly durable athlete.
all right,
Last season he had his quote unquote worst injury. He broke his leg, and he
Yeah.
missed, a few weeks.
Right. Right.
So I mean, even when he's been interviewed in years past, he goes, there's no chance I can do it because the odds of being healthy and being able to compete at that level for that long are the chances are so slim. But he's been able to accomplish it. So again, I get back to you cannot take it for granted. He
Right.
amazes us every day, and it doesn't surprise us when he amazes us. But I think we know how amazing it is.
Yeah, and he doesn't shy from a hit, so it's not like he's just out there pouring in the goals. Um, so shifting gears, and actually, our companies are so well aligned on a lot of levels, hence why I think we've had a successful partnership. But one of which is how we view the world, and I think if you look at the MSC sort of message to the market, I think is, and I'm looking off of some of your materials too, that it's that team plus media plus venue plus innovation. And so our philosophy has been for a while, as we've seen some challenges in certain parts of, especially the advertising ecosystem, TV, linear TV changes, all the things that are going on there. The media plus sponsorship plus experiential is what's going to be the unlocking mechanism for the best results for brands as they start to think about, okay, how am I going to make up for the deficiencies in certain parts? Well, you've got to have this ability to have the scale of what media can bring, the immersive experiences that you can create through experiential, but then also the power of strong IP to help change and affect brand affinity. From your guys' perspective, what does that translate to day in and day out, and how do you have that synergy between running now a media company, which is a new thing within the MSC portfolio over the last few years, and then also carrying off a major renovation and enhancing the fan experience to levels that maybe the DMV has never seen before?
For sure. Well, we definitely have different parts of our business that are perfectly complementary for each other. On one hand, as you pointed out, we've got one of the most popular arenas on planet Earth. We're a top 20 venue worldwide. We're a top 10 venue in the United States. We're a great Ticketmaster and Live Nation partner. We host major events, some of the most important events in the world. We hosted the presidential inauguration in our
Mhm.
building less than a year ago. The media value on that, as you can imagine, the international attention was off the charts.
Mhm.
We get up to 3 million people through our turnstiles, and we just finished the first summer of a 3-summer transformation project that'll amount to $1 billion renovation. It'll be something that sets the building up for the next 30 years. And while we can get up to 3 million people through our turnstiles on an annual basis, on a typical night, we're maxing out at say 20 to 21,000 people. We
Mhm.
still have hundreds of thousands of people, in some cases, millions of people watching on television and streaming through different channels. You mentioned the term IP. We are IP owners, and live sports continues to be the most valuable IP on planet Earth. And there's a lot of change clearly happening in the traditional linear ecosystem. Our long-term bet, and we have the opportunity to do that, particularly in an organization that's run by my father and by myself, we can take a long-term perspective. We always think that live IP is going to be very valuable. And so, a significant percentage of our overall company revenues come from media, from our national television partners on the NBA and the NHL side, and the
Mhm.
WNBA side, I should say,
Yeah.
to our local medias and our own in-house network, Monumental Sports Network. And so we've proudly owned and operated our network for over 3 years. When we first bought it, we made a major investment back into it. We spent over $35 million building best in class production studios, a new programming lineup, new brand, a digital and streaming platform. We took our rights direct to consumer to make our games more accessible. We believe in the power of our media rights and whatnot. And it's bumpy now, but again, in the long term, I think there are going to be more channels that open up, and we're not going to be exclusive to cable and linear. We're going to be continuing to develop direct to consumer. We're going to find additional digital partners to distribute our programming through. There's always going to be an audience for our games,
Yeah.
whether it be a subsection of our games or the entire season for the hardcore fan. And I think that's really exciting. Most organizations, they go either a mile wide and an inch deep, or an inch wide and a mile deep.
Right.
Our organizations in sports do both. We have a database of over 5 million people here in the DMV. Our market in totality is about 7.5 million people. So that's pretty good penetration in terms of understanding who our customer is and getting people into our building. At the same time, our teams and our leagues are incredibly relevant, obviously, on a national basis. They're increasingly relevant on an international basis. You read a lot about the Basketball Africa League, about potential NBA Europe expansion. You read a lot about the NHL's international composition of players and where World Cups and Olympic Games are held and whatnot too. And so we are uniquely positioned to be increasingly relevant on a global basis. I think that aligns with a lot of future media partner growth initiatives as well. So we're really bullish about the future of our distribution, reaching big audiences for brands that we're bringing to the table, brands that Playfly brings to
Yeah.
the table. I think it's an exciting time to be in sports.
Zach, what do you think, right? So now being into it as long as you have and being a media owner, but also a media operator, biggest learning so far. And for those that don't get a chance to see Monumental Sports Entertainment, either through a direct consumer product or through the linear feed, a lot of investment. I'm watching on a regular basis, and I can attest to the power of what you guys have put, or the heft that you've put behind that product, that business, the studio, and the like. What so far has stood out to you?
Well, I think there's plenty of learnings. I think that the pace of change is rapid.
Mm,
We've seen dramatic growth on the digital side, which is encouraging and exciting. I think that we're also, pleased by the durability of sports as an asset class.
mhm,
If you look at sports over the course of the last 65 years, sports appreciation as an equity has appreciated more quickly than the S&P 500, than private equity, than real estate, and it stood the test of financial recessions, depressions, pandemics.
yeah.
The largest, most expensive team sale in Major League Baseball, for example, I think was the
Mhm,
Mets, which
mhm,
occurred right in the heart of the pandemic,
mhm.
without any line of sight on a vaccine. And so, we take a long-term view on a lot of this, and we're excited about the growth opportunities ahead. These assets, these companies, they're unlike any other businesses in the world. Our fans intertwine their identities with the brands.
Yeah.
And so, people might be inclined to switch PC brands or car brands or insurance companies. There's only
Mhm.
a certain amount of brand loyalty out there. There's an inelasticity to brand loyalty in the sports space that I think is very exciting. Also comes with great responsibility,
Yeah.
and that translates into how we invest back into our product, right? We didn't have to invest 30+ million into our network. We could have
Mhm.
just uh, you know converted a conference room into a studio space. We didn't want to do that. We felt more we felt a deeper sense of passion about wanting to deliver a world class experience for our fans. We felt the responsibility that that's what they deserved. And by the way, we're in a really important media market in Washington D.C., the most powerful
Right.
city in the world.
Right.
So if you're going to be a major media market, you have to act like one too. And so that's really a lot of the attitude that we've taken, and I think it's translated to our on-air product too.
Yeah, and Zach, I guess sort of expounding upon one of the things you said in there. So we call them forever fans at Playfly, and it's our data that would say again you're entering that fandom at an earlier age, way earlier than what people I think would anticipate. And to your point, even through transient nature of how people move across the country, you don't lose that. So your fandom is not just in the DMV, but obviously is spread out. As you think about though your competition, it's not like you're not without competition for the hearts, minds, and wallets of fans within that area of the country, in the Mid Atlantic area in particular. How do you look at your advantages, especially maybe as it relates to this renovation and the $1 billion? I think it was 800 million originally, and now I'm hearing the $1 billion. So obviously, costs continue to increase. But how? What is that in your mindset, your father's mindset of like, okay, it's not only I'm competing against the other entertainment vehicles, but even in my own market, I've got well-resourced team owners. And how do I make sure that people want to come to my venue on a nightly basis? Fan,
Um,
maybe
well,
even in fan engagement, Zach, like even just thinking about what it's going to feel like in 27 after it's completed.
well, sure. I mean, there's competition locally. I think that we think about a lot while we compete with other teams on the ice and on the court. I think we take the perspective with our leagues that our teams are our partners. We best practice
Mhm.
share often and whatnot. The leagues do a really nice job of bringing teams together and showcasing best in class examples and whatnot. My father, I know, used to kid back in the day when he was a chief executive at America Online, that their biggest competitor wasn't the Microsofts of the world. Their biggest competitor was Seinfeld because it was coming in on at 7 p.m. right as people were coming home from work. And it was, where do you want to spend your attention, which is a zero sum game. There are only so many minutes in the day. And
Right.
so you could watch a show or you could go online and web surf and answer email and whatnot. There's an attention economy here. There are lots of things to do in a popular city like Washington, D.C. We always have to be catering to different audiences' preferences. And I think that through this building renovation, we're in the same location, obviously, we're in the same market. We understand exactly what our demand looks like.
Yeah.
And frankly, previously, we haven't been able to meet that with our supply.
Yeah.
There's a significant demand, for example, for premium spaces, and we were under indexed on premium. We're growing our
Mhm.
premium SKUs from about 13% to, I believe, around 38%. And so we can finally satisfy what the market has been signaling to us that they want. That doesn't mean we are going to ignore other parts of the building, though. Every single part of our building is going to be transformed. Bigger experiences, higher quality food experiences, more places to hang out. The transformation process that we're pursuing is going to see our arena grow from 900,000 square feet to 1.6 million square feet. So, I mean, that's a dramatic expansion. And so every single type of fan out there is going to see an improved experience. And this first summer was really hard. A lot of or pretty much all the work happened in the basement of the building in our parking garage. It was
Mhm.
focused on base building infrastructure, technology, some of the nitty gritty things, HVAC, dehumidifiers, things like that, truck bays, also our locker rooms, premium hospitality areas. I can tell you from the places that have come online, the
Mhm.
work is spectacular and
Yeah.
unbelievable. The people who are experiencing are over the moon. Um, it makes me that much more excited to finally bring it up to the main concourse levels next year. There are going to be some pardon our dust moments and whatnot. Everyone has to expect that, but the finished product I think is, people will walk in and see it as an unrecognizable experience. It will be unrecognizable from what they've experienced the last 25 to 30 years here at Capital One Arena. And we want to surprise and delight people, and also have technology. And we're making significant investments in technology be at the heart of a lot of that innovation and change to improve the customer experience.
All sounds amazing, and if you're top 20 today globally, I can only imagine what you guys are shooting for in the end game. Um, one of your tenants, one of your IP in your portfolio, is a pretty mature product now. After this many years, still new compared to the NBA or NHL, but the Mystics and the rise of women's sports. Can you sort of explain how you guys have changed, maybe your viewpoint on how you're talking about them, how you're resourcing them, how you market them? Today compared to even just pre-pandemic, potentially is maybe the marker.
The Mystics are, one of the hottest sports properties in the world. The W has seen incredible growth, and we've now owned and operated the Mystics for nearly 20 years. And there were definitely challenging days when we would fight for people's attention, and we would sometimes struggle to get it. We worked with Kathy Engelbert pre-pandemic to say we should launch something really radical and try to raise capital at the league level to allow the league to build out its office and build national platforms, drive national revenues that would trickle down to the local team P&Ls. That's really what makes team P&Ls and leagues work, when you can combine local and national revenues together. Of course, best laid plans. The pandemic came, it delayed that, But then ultimately, the league was able to successfully raise $75 million at a $400 million pre-money valuation. It prepared them to catch the lightning in the bottle
Wow.
that everyone is enjoying with some of these spectacular rookie classes that the league has brought in, and it's timed up perfectly with, I think, a great maturation in society and pop culture that people were ready to watch women's sports. And
Yeah.
the only question that we have is, why did it take so long? Why,
Right.
why, why did it take you so long to get to the party? There are plenty of people who come to me and say, well, is it a flash in the pan? Is it a 1 year thing? We have seen growth year over year over year now for 3 years.
Yeah.
And we would expect that to grow in the future. Our viewership and ratings, for example, for our local games, we were the first regional sports network to broadcast and produce every home and away game for a team and do pre and post game coverage. We're really
Hmm.
proud of that. We made those investments years ago, and they're certainly proving to be fruitful. But we've literally seen triple digit growth 3 straight years now. So that's not by accident.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because of the renovation, our building was closed last summer. It'll be closed the next 2 summers as well. But the season before that, we hosted some games at Capital One Arena, and we set the record twice in one summer, not just for our team, but for the entire league
Wow.
in terms of attendance. And we were driving over $1 million gates
Hmm.
for WNBA game. Um, Certainly a record for our team. It was amazing, and so we see fan engagement growing rapidly. And I think the big differentiator is we've grown from just a hardcore WNBA fan to a casual fan.
Hmm.
And candidly, I think a lot of male fans are now interested in watching the WNBA more so than ever before. It took too long to get to that moment, but we're really proud of the investments that we've made into our team and into the league to get to a point where the league is certainly recognized as one of the most important in the entire world.
It's great. And our data shows, to your last point, more male viewers than female viewers for a W product. Like it's an incredible story. It's quite a change. Before I get to my rapid fire questions here and we wrap up, one other one. We've talked about a lot of things around the sports landscape, especially within the Washington D.C. area. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, how does baseball factor into your plans for the future?
Uh, we don't own a baseball team, and so there are a couple of baseball teams in our market. Obviously, they have different ownership groups, and we think baseball is a exciting sport. The World Series was great television recently,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of change happening in baseball. We are close friends with the Warner family. They have a small equity stake in our organization, Monumental, and we'll leave it at that. We think
Yeah.
baseball is a great product.
Got it. Good. Thank you. So let's do a little rapid fire if you don't mind. We'll do a little bit more on the lighter side of things. So let's go back to the kiddos. So morning breakfast or bedtime? What's better? What do you enjoy more?
I'm in charge of breakfast. I'm up
Okay.
early, and so I typically am getting their waters and milk and breakfast ready and whatnot,
Nice.
and some diaper changes as well, like I did this morning. So yes, I typically take breakfast duty. To be frank, we have games all the time, and so I
Right.
do sometimes miss bedtime. But when I can, when we don't have a game, I'll try to zip home just so I can read a couple stories.
Nice. Nice. Love it. Love it. Good memories there. Um, okay. So we've talked a lot about professional, but you live in an area of the world that also has a heck of a lot of universities around you. College football, college basketball. What do you like better?
I'm more of a college basketball fan.
Okay.
I went to Penn undergrad, um, and Georgetown for my MBA. I grew up a Georgetown Hoya basketball fan. I mean, I think back to JT3 taking the Hoyas to the Final Four in what, 2007. I hope I got that right. I actually went to that game. Unfortunately, they lost to Ohio State. I think it was in Atlanta. And so I'd love to see the Hoyas basketball return to glory. That would be a lot of fun. The Hoyas play in our building, so that's
Yeah.
certainly helps too. So I'm more of a basketball guy, and March Madness is pretty hard to beat too.
Yeah, I agree. Agreed. Okay, time for vacation, mountains or beach?
Beach, definitely beach.
Okay, nice. Food wise, you got a moment between meetings, got a moment between games. Savory or sweet? What are you grabbing?
Now, as I'm getting older, a salad. It's pretty lame, but
Uh,
like times change, man. You're getting old.
that's right. That's good. You already gave away one of my questions, which was coffee or tea, and I think you sounds like you're heavy on the coffee.
Coffee, although my wife has started to introduce me to matcha, which I'm surprisingly liking. So I'm getting on that train.
Nice. Last one. Basketball playoffs, hockey playoffs.
Oh, just different. I'm not picking one or the other. I do think, in the NBA, it's a huge stage. There's a glitz and glamour to it. I mean, that is really spectacular. On the other hand, in the NHL, there is a mystique to the Stanley Cup. And those 7 game series are like wars. They are as hard fought as you can get. I will say that playoff overtime in the NHL is, I mean, about as hair raising as it gets.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're both spectacular. We'd like for both teams to be making the playoffs. Eventually, we'll
Right. Right.
get back to the playoffs for the West.
Yeah, the difference between those teams that end in April and the ones that end in June on their bodies and then the off season and getting healthy for the next year, it's just unbelievable the
I
wars
think
they go
I think people underappreciate the toll that it takes
through.
on.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Appreciate the candor today. Appreciate some of the fun answers as
Thanks.
well. Obviously, rooting for you. You've been a wonderful partner. Your whole organization has been to Playfly. But Zach, thank you for joining us on Playfly
Thanks,
Play.
Craig. The feeling's mutual. You guys are the best.
Great. Thanks.